Hi, my name is Vivica Arguez. I am currently a junior at Fresno State, uh, majoring in construction management. I got an internship this summer with Kitchell CEM. We are working on the Matilda Torres High School project in Madera. It's a $180 billion project. The contractors on the project are Harris. The architects are Darden Architects, and we were hired by not Fresno, Madera Unified uh, School District. They hired us to kind of oversee the work and look out for them, make sure that Harris and Darden are both doing their jobs. So the scope of work that I chose um, is metal stud framing. We're doing a lot of metal stud framing on the site. It's going on right now, so I just thought it'd be interesting to kind of tackle that issue. Some of the means and methods for metal stud framing. If you're working on the exterior, a lot of scaffolding. You're going to need scaffolding to get to the tops of the buildings and the roofs. Um, sorry. Um, Sometimes, if the buildings are too tall, they use lifts to get them up to finish the work, but scaffolding usually works out in our project. Um, on the interior, they they use scaffolding for like the bigger rooms, you know, like the library. They have to have scaffolding in there to do the work. The classroom metal stud framing goes by pretty quick. They don't need much work for that. They do take early measures, like they have to lay out the tracks before they start the actual installing of the studs. So they use chalk lines and stuff and read the plans to find out where in the building the classrooms are supposed to line up with, and um, things like that. Next, some equipment that they use on site are power drills, a lot of saws to cut the studs to correct size, a lot of chalk lines to not measure, but to show where the top and bottom tracks are going to be in the building. Tape measures, of course. There's some welding that they do. They need welding equipment out there. Um, the material that they use is just aluminum stud frames and some screws. There's only two materials that they use for the metal stud framing. Um, and I guess welding, if you want to consider that. Um, I did upload some pictures into the PowerPoint that you can check out. I'll just briefly describe what the pictures are. So the first picture on your left is going to be the start of a room. I'm not sure what kind of room it is yet, either like a classroom or a storage room for the robotics center that they have there. As you can see, there's a top and bottom track already laid out. It's clear that you can see that. And then you have the studs that are installed. The second picture is in the Performing Arts Center. I just thought it was a neat picture because they went around the structural steel to build the framing, the room. It's gonna be a room, but it's a wall that's gonna be right there, and I just think it's cool how they just kind of went around it. And then the third picture is also in the Performing Arts Center. It's just a couple of windows, but it was a lot of work for those windows. You can see that they had to match the outside and the inside, and it could just be tough sometimes, but they did an amazing job out there. So for estimating and scheduling, um, I don't really know much about estimating and scheduling, but I just kind of what I would do if I was working on another project and they had me do this, I would kind of, if I had this information, go back and look at the scope of work and how much it cost for like each building for metal stud framing, and compare that work to the work I'm working on this new project. If it's a bigger room, if it's a taller room, or if it's a shorter room, or if it's smaller, you can get an idea of how much it's going to be. If it's about the same work, you can kind of price it the same. So I would just do something like that. The same with scheduling. Just depends on what time of the year it is as well. If it's going to be during the spring, I'm going to account for a lot of rain days, especially here in the valley. I would also just look back at this schedule and then compare it to the new project's schedule, or how big the work is, or how less of work there is, and just kind of go from there. Definitely something we need to look into more. So lastly, some key safety procedures that they have on site is that Harris has their own safety inspector. They do safety sweeps just about every week, almost every day if they can. And they go and make sure that everybody working on site is following all of their rules, has their proper PPE on. They're doing things properly. If they're on a roof, they make sure they're tied off. If they're welding on structural steel, you got to make sure you're tied off and secure. They make sure that all the ladders are secure. Nobody's climbing a free leaning ladder. It needs to be secured. Just stuff like that. Harris has their own type of procedure that they do for the safety sweep. And then OSHA comes out once in a while if they can. We had an OSHA inspector come out last week. They don't get too many injuries on site, but when they do, it's a big deal. And another thing, quality assurance and measures for the work. We have a third party inspectors on site, and they check the work. When something's finished, the inspectors go out and they check the work. They let us know if it's passed, if it's failed, or if it needs a reinspection, and then we take that information, send it to Harris. Harris will tell their subs or their workers, all right, let's fix what needs to be fixed, or just stuff like that. And if they pass, then they can go on to the next scope of work, but they can't move on until they're passed. So for my first internship, I think that they take a lot of safety procedures and quality measures to make sure that the work gets done right and people are being safe. So this concludes my video presentation. Thank you. I will upload more photos just so you guys can see what the project looks like at the end of the PowerPoint. Thank you.